How's everybody doing tonight? Shout out to my man Jeffrey Johnson for making it. Good evening. Give me one in the chat if you can hear me. Give me one in the chat if you can hear me. It's 24 degrees in the Midwest. It's warming up a little bit. It's warming up just a little bit. So you see it right there. NIST 863B. Identity and authorization and authentication from that B. So, of course, I was playing on ChatGPT and I did a character of myself. AKA, I got to lose some weight. But I like it. I like it. Let's give me one in the chat if you can hear me. Give me one in the chat if you can hear me. We'll get to. I appreciate you, Jeffrey Johnson. I think it's just me and you tonight. Just me and you chilling. You know how we do it. You got any questions, cybersecurity or tech or privacy? Drop them in the chat. We'll get started. Once again, I'm going to get on that NIST 863B. I don't know why. I do like that character, though. I do like that. Shout out to Regine for joining us. She gave me the 1-2, so we're going to get it started. You know how we do. If you got any questions, cybersecurity or tech, drop them in the chat box. That is my ChatGPT character I did on myself. Shout out there. It's got the Iris Pub 1075, my favorite. Right behind that is that NIST 853. If it's not 53, it's not for me. Then up in the corner, they slid in FedRAMP. Got to do our cloud. Then my favorite cloud at the top is AWS. And they put the government up there because I'm always doing a little government or something. Shout out to Brownsville. Appreciate you. Brownsville bread. So I did my OpenAI ChatGPT character of myself. I enjoyed it. I might put that on my LinkedIn. I might switch my LinkedIn to that. I don't know if that's appropriate or not, but hell, PPO just kind of does what he wants to do. Let's go. Once again, you see it at the top, this 863B, digital identities and I can't even talk, authentication and authenticator management, blah, blah. Digital identity guidelines and authenticator management, what it governs. B defines how authentication must be implemented and managed. Once a user has an identity, it focuses on login security, not identity proofing. That's A. It answers how do we securely authenticate users over the network and at the right level of insurance and over what time, right? So just in time login and just in time authentication and authorization. I only knew a couple companies did that. So if you was doing DBA work, you have to log in, click a button, somebody approves it, then it gives you those types of privileges to do your work, right? So if a hacker came and took over your box, they wouldn't have any credentials to really do anything of privilege. So, and part of a zero trust, that's what they're pushing. Get my face off of there. I did the 863, which is the digital identity model. Then there you see the A, B, and C. A is identity proofing and enrollment. We're talking about B today, authenticators, and C is federation and single sign-on and assertion. So proofing is real big in the government, right? So when you're at DOD and they give you, and we're gonna look at a FIDO card or a CAT card, you actually have to produce credentials so somebody can see it, hold it in their hand, see it, and we actually have to give a thumbprint, right, to prove that it was you before we gave you a CAT card, right, for you to authenticate into your box and do your work and get your privilege. So a lot of times people talk about identity proofing. Somebody asked me a question. I think I was at a very large state client. They were talking about doing CAT cards. They were talking about it's going to cost them like $5 to $7 million to do CAT cards. You got 40,000 people. You got to get CAC readers. Then on top of that, probably newer machines. But then on top of that, they had to come in once again, give you their passport or their driver's license. That whole thing where you can revoke mail certificates, signing certificates. So that whole infrastructure for I think a lot of people underestimate that for that proofing and enrollment. Once again, we're doing B. I'll probably do A next week, and the following week do the federation for single sign-on. That's real big. Single sign-on is a lot easier to do these days, especially if you're in the cloud or you're in a Microsoft tent. So once again, authentication assurance levels. 1 is low risk, single factors allowed, passwords, no MFA, typical use, low risk portals and information systems, HR type documentation. Once again, that low risk passwords, even though passwords is used still to this day a ton. I mean, we talking like we're gonna get rid of passwords anytime soon. Let's look at the medium level. This is the moderate, kind of where I work at most of the time. Once again, 863B defines 3 ALs, assurance levels, which drive what authentication methods you are using. Once again, most people know I usually do IRS work or that type of paperwork, not life or death. So at least one factor must be phishing resistant or cryptographically protected. Password, once time apps or password plus hardware token. Typical use for SaaS, internal business, most federal moderate systems. Once again, that's what I do. A lot of times that hardware token or TP is your phone, right? You log on, then it sends something to your phone. With those authenticators, Microsoft, I'm a Duo guy, but it sends it to your phone. Either you get a code and you send it, or a lot of times you could push button and it sends the token back, then it'll go ahead and you log on. But once again, that's that multi-factor, and that's kind of really what everybody's pushing these days. There's something coming up on this slides that kind of threw me off because I've been doing that, I guess, for 20 years, and now they don't want us to do it. So it's interesting. We get there. This is what we're talking about here. High risk, phishing resistant MFA require hardware backed authenticators. And I got a picture of some that meet that level of security. Strong cryptographic proof, privileged admin access. That's what I like to use for my DBAs, my SAs, my cloud engineers. National security system, high impact workloads. Key shift is ALs are risk driven and not role driven. Using the government, we role driven. Role driven is really job. Your role usually comes out to what's your job function. If you're a GRC, these are the things you can see. These are the things you can do. Most of the time, it's read only. Most of the time, or if you're a DBA, right, that's usually role. So risk driven from the high is kind of usually a little different. But once again, that hardware backed authenticators. And once again, I got a slide coming up that's going to show you a few of those. This is the slide that kind of threw me off. Password, memorize secret requirements, the correct details, minimums. You can have minimum length of 8 characters. That is incorrect. There's nowhere in the Fed we're going to let you use 8 characters. I've used 8 characters, but if I'm using 8 characters, we're doing it with MFA. So that's probably why they have it on there. If you have MFA, I still probably wouldn't let you get 8 characters, but the federal requirement says you can do 8 characters with MFA. Encourage passphrase. Explicitly discourage. This is what I've been doing my whole life. Explicitly discourage uppercase letters, numbers, and special characters. We used to have 2, 2, and 2. So that's kind of shout out to my man Kiki and Jasmine for joining us. Um, periodic pass rotations unless compromised. And we've been rotating password for 60 days for 10 years at the federal level. So that's, for me, that's a huge departure. I understand why they're doing it. I kind of read their password reasons why they don't worry about the mandatory uppercase numbers and special case, and they don't make you rotate as much. I've been rotating for 60 days for 15 years. So I need to look at it. I think DoD requirements still wants you to rotate in 60 days, and I think the IRS still wants you to rotate in 60 days. I need to check that. I haven't looked at that probably over a year. I haven't seen any major updates to that. So once again, I know. I think Brownsville, I think as long as you do MFA, they'll let you do 8 characters since you got the 2-factor. I think that's when they brought 8 characters back. Because I'm like you, it can't be 8 characters by itself. So I think they're doing 8 characters with MFA in your moderate. But I'm like you, 8 characters. That's definitely been about 30 years. So I think you can do 8 characters with the AL2 moderate risk, what most enterprise are. Once again, with your multi-factor password plus app or hardware token, most likely your phone. But I'm with you on that, Brownsville. That's a little too, like you said, 80s with the 8 characters. Once again, unless they believe you compromised, that's kind of different. I don't use password vaults. I use password patterns. For me, the password vault, and to me, I'm outdated. I think password vaults are cool, but in the 2000s, a lot of password vaults weren't very good, and people were hacking them. So for us, that's where the honeypot was. All the admins, DBAs, and stuff were in password vaults, so they were getting hit a lot of times in the 90s, because I think that's when password vaults first started becoming prevalent. So no, I use password patterns. I'm not a vault guy. Authenticators types what's allowed: memorize secrets, password, OTP device, apps and hardware, cryptographic authenticators, multi-factor devices, out-of-band authenticators. Each type has a binding requirement, a verification rules, and lifecycle management rules. And we'll dig into those. That's your whole authentication infrastructure and how you handle it. A lot of times, a lot of people are using the Microsoft authenticators, once again, with your phone. Um, how do you, when people onboard, how do you give them initial password? Then once they do the initial password, are you forcing them to create their own new password? A lot of times, most companies don't force them into a new password. They just tell you to change the password, right? So that's some of the life cycle management stuff I see that's incorrect. But authenticator life cycle management 63 goes beyond password rules. It covers binding authenticators to identities, replacement and recovery, revocation about after compromise, re-authenticating rules, and this one kind of threw me off. Security recover workflows. No weak security questions. I'm like, if you're not doing security questions, I guess as long as they're not weak, right? So I guess you're doing security questions. Kind of like passwords. What's the complexity of your security questions? I had to think about that a little bit. Once again, drop your questions, cybersecurity tech. Drop them in the box. What's your opinion on Microsoft authenticators? Um, I think they're weak on that. If I was doing a high system or moderately high, I wouldn't use it. But it's better than nothing, and it's better than most small companies can do on their own. So so from that standpoint, I see why people use it. It's part of that whole defender infrastructure intra. Um, I think it's all okay. I don't think it's top notch, super secure, but it's better than nothing. And Microsoft, one thing I do give them credit for, their stuff works together and it's easy to use and it's point and click. So I always tell people it's levels to this stuff, right? It tends the top. I might give Microsoft 4 or 5. So that's halfway there. So that's a good starting point. Because a lot of times it's getting your infrastructure set up, getting your people used to doing that stuff, getting your people used to the reset. Are you using the pin to reset? That type of thing. So getting used to that infrastructure, I think is a valid point of that. I've done Linux and Unix my whole life, so I would say I'm not the biggest Microsoft fan. Once again, Oracle ran a lot better on Unix and threading in the old days, and I thought it scaled a lot better. But shout out to Microsoft. They bought companies that got a lot better, and I think the hardware makes when you get 8 cores, right? You can have sloppy code because you got 8 cores, right? So I think that part of is part of that. Oh, facts. Got to have your RSA token. Shout out to my man Jose Rodriguez, especially if you're talking about FIPS 140-3 RSA tokens. I think is the only thing actually validated to run on that for federal space. So shout out to my LinkedIn people. I need to take better care of them. Shout, thanks for joining. But yeah, anything I do is going to be a RSA type of deal. Hopefully, 256. And once again, I think that's the only thing that runs FIPS for a federal system. That one FIPS 140S2. What do you think about passwords keys? I got something coming up for that regime. I like them because that's what people are coming up with this passwordless um, authentication. So I think I'm fine with that because it's something you got to have on your person. So no, I'm fine with that. So something you have. So no, I definitely like that. Security controls emphasize 63P requires and strongly recommends MFA for moderate to high risk system, TLS for authentication transaction, replay resistance, protection against phishing and man in the middle attacks, and secure session management. If you're any of the cloud, people know I'm an AWS guy, but you Azure, Google, shout out to Oracle. I always loved Oracle. The clouds give you access to to all of these. Then two is, and I'm gonna show FIDO is the kind of one I would use for federal work. I got that coming up, and so helps you with the phishing and the man in the middle attack. So once again, I'm a cloud guy. Oh no, not yet. No, I gotta finish it. Not my class yet. I would have to get it certified. I know Dr. Ozier did his class. No, not no, oh, no. I gotta finish it first, but not yet. Ty. Let me finish it first. But once I get it going, I might talk to Ozier to figure out how he got his. Because I think if you look at his daily brief, leave a comment. I think it's a half a CPE a day. But if you listen to it every day, of course they add up. But no, mine won't be. I might. You got me thinking now, Ty. I might reach out and see what Dr. Ozier did to get his certified for those CUs. What's new in 63.4? Modernization language for your cloud and zero trust. Gotta be on top of your zero trust game and that architecture, especially from a GRC perspective, because a lot of feds are recommending zero trust. So from a GRC perspective, are they using microsegmentation? Are they using session when they log on? Are they checking the health of their systems if it's at a certain level? Or they're forcing patching on the workstations? On the back end, or are they using encryption, or the back end database saying only from these SaaS services that we're allowing to insert into databases, right? Once again, segmentation and microservices from an architecture standpoint to kind of roll into that zero trust. Once again, drop any questions, cybersecurity in the chat. We kind of flowing through. Most people know I taught for a community college for 10 years, so PBI always got slides. Shout out to the slides. Improve clarity around phishing resistance, MFA strength, authentication binders, align better once again with your zero touch architecture, modern IAM platforms, mobile and hardware authenticators. Do not reverse the 2017 philosophy. It refines and formalizes it. And that's it. And once again, I think regime brought it up. We're definitely going to look at our password keys. I do not, Brownsville. I had the Security Plus, so I'm actually studying for my CISSP. I've been interviewing lately, and some of the senior positions want you to have the CISP or CISA. I'd probably go for the CISSP first. CISA is on my radar. Oh, facts. You gotta have your column on there. Facts. If you in the yeah, you gotta definitely a column. In AWS, I usually use AWS config, detective, and inspector. Using Security Hub, they give you a lot of out of the box things for your scanning and if you're having drift inside your architecture. So that's kind of what I start off with from an AWS perspective. Yeah, I worked for a client that used to work for a client to get ready for a 3PO, and Common was huge on there. And yeah, you got to have the cool thing is all the big cloud vendors give you out of the box. Shout out to Sewn by Joan. Thanks for joining. But yeah, you're right. That Common, a lot of the big cloud vendors give you out of the box Common to get you started. I actually got a lab coming up to talk about that, Jose. Jose's ahead of the time. Oh, yep. Got to have your key rotation, password key rotation. I think that's coming up. You are correct. My man Jose is ahead of the game. We're going to get there. We're going to get there. For your federal systems, my favorite, FedRAMP, FISMA, and CISA Zero Trust, widely adopted. We talked about that by cloud providers, financial systems, healthcare systems, and SaaS platforms. Regulatory and audit reality. The AL justification, once again, MFA enforcement evidence, password screening and controls, authenticator lifecycle and documentation. We know we GRC, so these are the things we're getting ready to give our auditors because they're going to ask us for it. So so those are some of the documentation we need to get ready for. Once again, to have the auditors bill on it. These are some of the labs I was just playing around. Shout out to Ty. If I do a course, so I'll just generate some labs, what they would look like. AL3, which is high, phishing resistant authentication steps. Web off with the FIDO2 inside Cognitos. You can use YubiKey, which is super popular. Windows Hello and Touch ID. Hardware packed cryptographic key presence and disable fallback, align with the BAL3. And I think that's what Regine was talking about. That's the FIDO keys. So you put them in there and really that's acting as your password. Do you have experience with? I do not. I've done a couple PCI audits. I usually do IRS work, specifically taxes systems is one of my specialties. And a lot of times in state taxes, you can pay your state taxes with a credit card, which means that system had to be PCI. But a lot of times we just pay a service at PCI and we just push the credit card information on there. So I don't have to physically do the PCI DSS. I just made sure the company we're using in the cloud passed I think it was level 3 because of course we had 30 million people paying taxes. But no, so especially I usually work with systems that already has that designation. I haven't specifically did that. Like I said, on my assessment, I just need to make sure they were have their certification and trying to check on who gave them their certification. But now I'm not a PCI guy. DS. I hang out with a couple of those guys. Shout out to my man on Discord. But no, I don't really do PCI. I could, because if you could do 800-53, I looked at it. System boundaries, segmentation, your credit card system, firewalls, all that stuff is really in 800-53. So I could do one, but I once again I usually just validate the cloud vendor we're using to do that particular credit card work, because we don't want to handle it and do those type of assessments on our system. Um, for us, it's for a state, it really wasn't a benefit of controlling that information. Once we talk about Lab 4, binding, replication, and recovery. Once again, Cognito APIs and AWS. That's where you keep your username, your credentials. And two, you can actually use your Facebook or LinkedIn passwords to actually authenticate and bring that back. I wouldn't do that for a federal system, but it does have those type of hooks inside there for federation. And two, if you remove lost or stolen authenticators, identify verification, temporarily restricted sessions, force rebinding, prohibit knowledge-based recovery questions. Once again, your NIST 63B. And that's something we set up in the lab to show that, from a cloud vendor, how would you set up once again for your 63B to be able to pass a federal assessment? Rate limiting and attack protection. Deploy WAF in front of your Cognito hosted UI application endpoint. The configuration here is rate-based rules and captive challenge. So if somebody's trying to do a brute force attack or credential stuffing, a lot of times they're rate because they're trying to do it super quick. You would block that particular IP and push it out on the web and block them. Let's see what my man Rose said. Actually, if you've done 50 years. Yeah, facts. That's kind of my favorite framework. I've been doing 53 for like, 20 years off and on. Really, I do IRS Club 1075, but that's the, if you look in 53, it says organizationally defined. The organization I usually define on top of that is the IRS. Here's the link. If anybody wants to come up, chat, add input, I'm cool for that. Shout out to my favorite PM on the web, my favorite PM in the Fed space. Shout out to my man Larry, doing great things. I'm about to get him on my show and interview him also. I'm starting interviewing people in 2025. People always like my interviews. I just never got any views off of them, but shout out to Study GRC. I'm gonna start labbing again. So, and put my interviews on. I got about 3 CISOs lined up. I think I got 1 CIO. I got a couple Fortune 500 CISOs I'm hoping to chat with, get them on the channel so y'all can ask questions. If y'all get out of pocket, I'm gonna put you on timeout though. No, I'll just play. Auditing and monitoring evidence. Shout out to my man Jose. That was the con mine he was talking about. So most people know I'm an AWS guy. So enable your cloud trail, which is basically logging your APIs in the cloud for AWS. Authentication events, your MF changes, your authenticator lifecycle and actions. You also can send your system logs and your application logs to CloudWatch logs. We're going to send them to the S3 bucket and make them immutable so nobody can change them. So when we get those logs in there, we know nobody can actually change them or mess with them. They would have to create another version of them. So once again, that's how we can prove to our auditors nobody's messing with our logs. We got them immutable. Create a dashboard. We was talking about that. MFA enrollment rate, failed authentication attempts, usage by apps. Once again, I think off of your common, which my man Jose put, you got to have some dashboards. These are some of the dashboards you could create for your management and your DevOps and DevSecOps organization. Has anyone done a certification for ISACA? I don't know anybody. I don't know if you're in the Study GRC. I thought a couple people have the ISACA ones. What are you learning new in 2026? My big focus on is getting the CISSP, which is not learning, really getting into the AI. Um, the AI is just running amok, just getting better, just from a GRC perspective. Really working on the AI. People know I usually start with AWS before I go to other things. AWS has their Bedrock and Sage. They talk about running other LLMs inside their infrastructure, so you can put guardrails. Shout out to my man Jose. Get your common together, get your logging, and put some infrastructure around that whatever LLM you pick. So my big deal is AI. Really in 2026, everything's going on AI, and everybody's talking about AI. So just getting my AI skills up. Really, I've done about 7 videos. I have a playlist, so I've done 7 videos on AI. So I've been trying to making sure I'm in there. No, that's true. I'm surprised versioning is not in there. You were 100% correct. It's part of as part of your immutable storage. Versioning gets automatically cut on because you can't change that particular thing. You can only make a new version of it. You can never change the original. But you are correct, which was in none of my slides. So shout out to my man Jose. Versioning is definitely important. I think I applied it on the immutable, but he's 100% correct. I have the ISAC SIM cert. If you can pass the CISP, you can pass the C. Facts, facts, facts. I think I want to do the CISP, and I'm saying as hell. I've been talking about CISP for 15 years. CISP, CISA, and the C risk for the risk. For me, that's the senior level trifecta of things. So facts on that CISP. They say facts. AI is the new cloud on this. Yeah, I call it the new Bitcoin. Yeah, facts. I shouldn't be so mean. Yeah, you got it's past hype now. I don't even know what it's more hype. It's more than a niche. But we're gonna see what it pans out to after 10 years. I mean, I've seen a number of hypes, and for me though, it's reoccurring things. I did an analogy I like this. For me, AI is just a new financial calculator. Because if you look when a financial calculator came out, oh, you can't learn. Oh, you keeping people away from the basics. Oh, they're not really gonna learn the formulas. They're not really gonna learn the base stuff. I'm saying, dude, that's the same stuff they're saying about AI, right? So a lot of times now they're talking about, oh, you got to get your infrastructure right to do AI. You got to set up right. I'm like, dude, when ERP comes out, enterprise resource planning, if you didn't change your workflow to work with the ERP didn't work well. So you can hear the same thing about AI. So a lot of those things, I've heard before, just a different level. Now, I do think AI is going to take a lot of jobs. I think AI is not going to create a lot of jobs for people. I think it's going to create a lot of jobs, but those agentic AI agents are just going to do those type of jobs. Because if I got an AI company, I'm gonna be AI native, so all my job roles are gonna mostly be able to done with AI. And I might people validate that human in the middle, but most of the jobs I create, if I'm an AI company, is gonna be done with AI agents. But that's me on my soapbox. So that's gonna be another video where I talk about AI jobs and my perspective on that. And two, evidence what we show: password policy screenshots, multi-factor enforcement configuration, your FIDO registration records, your CloudTrail logs, your WAF rate limit. So if you get a DDoS attack, if a rate's at a certain limit, the WAF web application firewall is going to take that IP and block it, because you can't be making 100 requests in a second. Obviously, that's a computer, right? So we're going to take those rates and those IPs, and we're just going to block them, right? Because we know that's a brute force attack. Then two, the authenticator's revocation logs. So if something happens, you need to revoke privileges and give them back, or somebody needs to get their authenticator reset. What are those logs so you can trace that down, right? If somebody hacks somebody or takes over their YubiKey, whatever key, right? We need to be able to see that in the log and be able to, once again, revoke the privileges of that particular key. Be able to brick that key or assign it to somebody else, what that's doing. Once again, I'll drop the link down if anybody wants to come. No pressure, no pressure. Just want to get on that 63B. I try to have more NIST videos than NIST. So I looked, I think I got 70 NIST videos out there. So I got quite a few. There you go. Once again, just kind of going over the authentication and passwords for the 63B. Just kind of want to touch a little bit on that tonight. Let's see. Dropped it down. That's me. I need to lose some weight. I did my open AI caricature of what I do. Shout out to the beard with the little gray in there. Shout out to I like the Iris Pub 1075. See right underneath that is the NIST 800-53. That's me working. That's what I talk about. That's what I do in real life. Then the Fed right there. Got to do the 53 in the cloud. Then at the top is AWS, my favorite cloud vendor. Then right next to that is me talking about government actions. Right? We talking about the force apps they're putting on people's phone now to track people, and people don't know it. We talking about that on Thursday. So I really enjoyed my little character of it. Let's see what my man Ty said. Yes, that could work, but what if those requests are coming through another web proxy where it seems like it's actually coming from your own network? If a web proxy is coming through, no, that's a good point. Usually, if you're coming through the outside, you're coming through our load balancer and our CDN. So if you're coming from out the web and you're using internal IPs, we're going to block you because we're using internal IPs from our own network. So if you're coming from a web proxy outside, you're not going to make it inside our network because we know what an internal IP address should not be coming from the internet. So we should be blocking that top from that. And our internet gateway coming in should be in our LB application load balancer and our API gateways. All of those should know if you're coming from the outside, the internet gateway, and you got an internal IP address, we're going to drop that packet before you get in. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Shout out. I think it's a Facebook challenge. They're doing an open chat GPT challenge. I really liked it. It made me laugh. I think I'm gonna make that my my LinkedIn. Once again, I like the little get me my little lock on my laptop. I really enjoyed that. But now that's a good thing. We would need to test. Shout out to you with the red team test. But no, that shouldn't go through, Ty. But you're correct. I've seen people do that, but I think Amazon's going to block that before I even get a chance to block that. When you get in their internal network, if you're coming through private IP and not a public IP, I don't think they're going to let you inside their infrastructure. I went through the airport today and brought an energy drink. They had a store called Amazon One. All the cameras, no register, just payment, tunnel with an arm that will not let you. I saw that they automatically. No, I did that. I think they're closing those stores. I think they were having a problem with that. But yeah, I actually saw that. I actually did a video on that. That was super interesting because when you take stuff off the counter, they have the weights of the counter that changes. They might keep them at the airport, but they were having problems with the calculations on those. So the rumors were they were going to close those. Let's see with that. Oh, facts. I did a video on that too, Kiki. People should remember the Swifters. That's my thing. Oh, facts. Shout out to Texas. They actually blocked one of the TV vendors because they didn't take a picture of you. They took a picture of what you were looking at a particular time. As far as to monitor to give you better things to recommend, but they thought that was overreach. No, you're definitely correct. I need to drop my video. I did a video on that. Once again, Texas did a great video about blocking it. I think they actually sued the TV vendors for that. Okay. Powered by One Tech. Okay. I need to do a little research. Shout out to my man, David B., one of the SOC 2 guys I'll reach out to. If I had SOC 2 issues, I'm not a big SOC 2 guys. David's kind of convinced me to come over to the side of the SOC 2 guys. I'm the NIST guy. I don't like when the vendor and the client can create their own boundaries. I think that's suspicious. People know what the. I think that's suspicious. I think that's suspicious. Shout out to Dr. Umar. I'm gonna leave that alone. I think that's suspicious. He always say stuff 3 times. Shout out to my man, Dr. Umar. But shout out to my drop my link up. I know David comes up right now, and I know he's a busy man. He got the family, the kids, and the job. He's doing a lot out here, doing a lot. Shout out to my character. I enjoy seeing me at PBO. AKA PBO got to lose a little weight in 2026. Shout out to me. Shout out to me. Let's see. We're gonna wrap it up. I think. Let's see. I think. Yeah, this is the one I want to do. Let's see. And these are the ones we're talking about. I got the 63A, which is an overall digital identity. We talked about authentication and authenticators with B. Um, and here I did the low, which is passwords, no MFA. AL2, which is the hardware token OTP app, which is most times is your phone. I do a lot of Cisco Duo, but there's a ton of them out there. Shout out to Microsoft. Let's see. The 3 is high. Got to get our hardware backed authenticators. Shout out to Regine. We showed our FIDO key, what we would use for that. Privilege Act, admin access, national security system, and high impact workloads. Once again, assurance levels are risk driven, not role driven, even though I'm a big role driven guy. Okay, let's see. Great image, big dog. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Let's see. Keep up the good work. People like you. I appreciate you. So free game. Always, always. I appreciate you, Jose. Thanks for joining me. This is my normal time, usually Tuesday at 7. Usually I'm talking about something about NIST. People know. Thursday, I usually talk about some society at lunchtime, Eastern time. So we're talking about governments pushing apps on people's phone and saying they have to have them. Then Friday, usually I try to talk about some AI GRC. So that's what's coming up. Suspect for sure. Sometimes it is. Our firms, I don't think as good as yours, David. I think certain people pay certain firms to do certain things and check the box. But that's what we do as GRC and assessors. We double check those. We double check the double check. So it's all good in that area. So once again, I'm gonna hang out for 5 minutes. Drop any questions in the chat. I appreciate you. And once again, if you have any NIST questions, I have a playlist on there, governance, risk, and compliance. I think I got 70 videos in there about NIST. I'll start replaying those, and I need to update a few of those. Shout out to CMMC. I probably get on that CMMC train. I'm a little anti-CMMC, but I think I'm gonna have to jump on that train. It's moving quick, and I think obviously DoD's moving to that. So that's definitely a train I'm gonna need to jump on. So once again, I want to appreciate everybody for joining me. Once again, hitting that NIST 863B. And if anybody wants some certain information or wants some video, just reach out to me. Obviously, people on LinkedIn see my government name, which is all good. And trust but always, trust but verify. So yeah, once again, I want to appreciate everybody. And shout out to my man Jose. I appreciate him joining us. I didn't have my versioning in there, and I didn't see key rotation in there, which is crazy. I know that's in there somewhere. I think maybe when I generated my slides, I didn't pick that up. So those are definitely 2 key things you got to have in your 63B. And even though I was, like I said, that one had me a little confused, and we'll wrap with that. This one, because I've been doing mandatory uppercase numbers and special characters for 20 years. And here it's like periodic password rotation only unless it was compromised. Every 60 days, I'm changing passwords. So that's something I need to, I guess, give out CMC. And this one say one additional code more. Now, facts. I did a good video on 171. And 2, it's really a subset of 800-53. So that's kind of why I frowned on it. I don't think you could do less checks and be more secure. And I think 800-53 had about 30% more checks than 171. So that's kind of my only slight issue with CMC. But I think they picked it to help help the smaller vendors, help the moderate guys get on board and I guess jump in there. Facts. I don't think it's gonna be a book, Ty. I think it's gonna be a class, but no, shout out to you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. I say lab every day. Shout out to my man Dwight Lovefoot from AWS. I try to lab every other day. I've been studying for the CISP and my AWS cert. So I've been getting my AWS certs. I need to switch over to that CISSP. Kind of get on that realm. Once again, I want to appreciate everybody for joining me. Come check me out into the Study GRC Discord. I'm usually in there bothering those guys. Facts had affected, yeah. So that's kind of my issue with that. Because I'm old. I did the 800-53 plus the STIGs for FISMA. So I thought DOD should have kept that and put some mandatory assessments around it, but they went with 171 and less checks. But once again, I think that was the business industry pushing back on them a little bit. So I understand the game and why it's happening. But us as practitioners, we can always do 53, 171, and add extra controls that make us that we would believe would make us more secure. So we don't have to. We just that's the baseline. 171 is the baseline. CMMC is the baseline. 800-53. We can always add more security. That's going to make us more secure and have better security. So don't get lax. Don't stand with the minimum baseline. We want to be better than a minimum. I want to shout out everybody for joining me. I'm out, Professor Black Ops. Have a great hump day tomorrow. Let's get it. Happy Wednesday. Let's start.